All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another video. And this time, it's gonna be about models. Specifically, the models in gacha games and why some fail, but Wuthering Waves' thrive. And it is by none other than our favorite nerd who uses things like physics formulas and quotes from Elden Ring in his videos. I do genuinely hope that he doesn't throw in another reference into this one, otherwise I might just lose my shit. But I've heard that this is a pretty good one, and hopefully he'll minimize the number of times that my soul dies with each reference he does, and I'm excited to see what this is all about. So with that, let's go ahead, let's get right on into this and break it all down.
The in-game models for gacha games truly defines the experience of the player. This is the model and character that you will be playing with for the foreseeable future after all. There's nothing like staring into the blue eyes of your favorite character and looking.
This fucking guy, he's so stupid. he's so Why does he always do something so dumb? In like the first, it's not even, we're at 13 seconds.
Looking at their assets while they run across the map. The accessories on their model, their hair, the way they move and interact with the environment, the way they run, and their asses on full just, oh shit, I said it again.
Okay, this is actually funny. One thing I will congratulate Void for is I do think he's gotten a better mic. And so it is coming over a lot more clearly, though I am not very sure if I'm going to be happy about the fact that his voice is going to be easier to hear.
These are all things that players expect to be peak when they play their gacha games. For most games, such as Arknight's Olympus Company and Brown Dust 2, these in-game models are in the form of miniature versions of the characters. This is generally fine because the main gameplay is refined in this way, but you will still see that juicy PNG when you select your character. And as for Brown Dust 2, you get to see a hell of a lot more. But that aside,
Gooner game.
There's nothing more disappointing than going from this to this.
I feel like one thing that's always so disappointing, knowing things about Genshin Impact, knowing things about Hoyoverse, is just actually how genuinely fucking bad the models look. And I think this is the one time we're maybe using the excuse that like, oh, it's an engine limitation, we can't load that many polygons at once, might actually be true here. I do genuinely believe that Genshin Impact's models look like dog shit because of engine limitations. I do think this is the one time where it does apply. Engine limitations has been used as an excuse for things like why they fucking can't add artifact loadouts. It's not, and many other quality of life features in the game. But when it comes to like how the game looks, I do genuinely think it might be one. So this is probably the one time you can use that bailout card.
The downgrade in quality is seriously disheartening.
Oh, Enfield is literally on Unity. Okay, yeah, there's no excuse anymore.
I understand downplaying the model a little, but even Tectone would be terrified of the balding here. But then you have games like Wuthering Waves, who literally use the exact same in-game model for their cinematic movies and trailers for the character. Gone are the days where you lose 50% of your bone density when you transition from a trailer to a model. We are finally in the golden age of game models. Like, you cannot tell me that this NCP is in this wonderful game.
One thing people don't talk about enough is how the 2.1 Fishing Quest has literally better NPCs than like all of Amphoria's. It has better NPCs than all of Penacony and Amphoria's combined. Like Starbuck is just so... Starbuck makes you feel something when you play the game. It's a combination of just like intrigue, disgust, shock. Like there's so many emotions that you feel from seeing that absolute fucking idiot on the screen. And it's so ridiculous, but it is actually very engaging.
He has more expressions than the entire cast combined for Hoyoverse.
True.
Starbuck, you are truly the MVP of the 2.1 patch. and no one can prove the otherwise.
Absolutely.
My name is Void Enigma, and I'll be going over just how impactful the in-game models for gacha games are, and how Wuthering Waves transformed the direction for these models. Whether it's in trailers, cinematic cutscenes, or just general gameplay, and most importantly, the in-game story quests. We'll be discussing why the betrayal of facial expressions and emotions on these characters is a betrayal of the character themselves, and why certain gacha games are acknowledging that it is indeed boring to sit through 8 hours of dialogue with static interactions between the characters.
You want to know what a character being drunk in Genshin Impact would have looked like? Them just like standing there in their idle animations and they're like, "Eh? Oh man, traveler, I appear to have ingested far too many alcoholic drinks this evening, traveler." And then you have Brett over here actually looking completely fucking cooked out of his mind. He actually looked completely fucked up.
Before we talk about the 3D renders of gacha games, let's talk about the representatives of the 2D models of gacha games, such as the aforementioned Arknights, Limbus Company, and Brown Dust 2. The beauty of these types of models is that it's reminiscent of a certain gameplay that we grew up with. It's an easy way to make a great game without having to have spectacular 3D renders, yet it still requires the effort to make these characters look smooth and feel smooth.
I think this is the biggest thing, right? There's a very big focus on the literal art style when it comes to like these 2D games. You need to make sure that it's like a good blend between like viability in like the production style while also being like good enough to look at on like a continual basis, right? Because this is like the raw gameplay. And it's not like a matter of like having the nicest looking ones. It's the nicest looking ones that fit the theme of your game. And it can be a really hard balance to strike sometimes. While on the 3D side, I think it's entirely different. It's just about how good they look on the 3D side.
You won't find people complaining much about these models. Additionally, you have stories in these games, and they do a very good job of showing the emotion with voice acting and the reactions of the characters and sound effects. It's crazy to think that a game like Limbus Company, a 2D game with static models and mostly static reaction sound effects and Korean dub, has more fun and life in their story than Honkai Star Rail.
Dude, HSR is actually just getting shit on in like every single way possible. Like it is just poopy. It is just getting poopy on from every single way that a person can think. I didn't even think Void would be at the point where he would just randomly throw shots at HSR. He usually only just shits on Genshin, but even he's getting in on this fucking feast too. Bro knows.
Despite Star Rail having the potential of all of their characters to look alive. They also offer their own take on cinematic cutscenes, which is very unique, and I love seeing them every time. Each game does this in their own way, and it's just like an old school nice feeling.
What the fuck?
To see these cutscenes play out. For the budget of these models, they do a lot. And of course, the actual PNG that we see of the character is immaculate. These characters have some of the finest details in gacha gaming. Another thing that I want to talk about is the ultimate.
Now I know why Void plays these games. Now I know why Void Enigma plays these games. Bro's just bricked up 24/7. That's what it has to be. Wuthering Waves is probably like the most PG game he plays. It's basically rated E compared to all this shit.
Animation for games like Nikkei and Brown Dust 2. Let me just show you. Yeah, that's 90% of the reason why I play these games here.
I told y'all. I told you guys.
The attention to detail is what keeps players involved. Not the loot stuff. I mean, everything that I talked about in this section of the video.
Nobody's gonna think of anything except the fucking loot stuff because you basically just showed the equivalent of gacha porn for like 30 seconds. You absolute animal.
The transformation from art and trailer of these characters to the in-game models is often a very dissatisfying feeling for most gacha games. It takes a lot to bring a 3D model to life, and more often than not, you'd rather just watch the trailer than actually play the in-game characters. This is most evident, of course, in games like Genshin Impact, where the models of these characters fail in comparison to their trailers and their art. Characters like Yae Miko, Itto, Diluc, Albedo are butchered when they're rendered in game.
I think Diluc's easily the worst defender. Diluc looks like you took a 10-year-old's head and put it on an adult body. Ito has the smallest arms in Gacha gaming. He's like supposed to be ripped, but his arms actually look like he has like the body of like kind of like somewhat fit person, and then the arms look like a fucking malnourished cross-country runner. It's fucking ridiculous. And then Yai Miko is like, there's just something wrong. I can't really pinpoint what's like exactly wrong with Yai Miko, but there's just like, I think it's like the hair. I don't know. There's something that's off with it for sure.
Most people just accept this fact. It's just how the models are supposed to be.
It's the shoulders.
Right? Well, that's wrong. Even Honkai Star Rail, despite their characters
it's the shoulders,
being much
yeah,
more dynamic than Genshin Impact, still have a severe lack of diversity between their casts. Like, female character number 3 looks exactly like female character number 13. One thing I will say is, I don't play ZZZ, but their models in-game look absolutely fantastic.
True.
When I checked out the gameplay, especially when comparing their appearances in the trailers to their in-game models, I can say that I was pretty impressed. I don't know how the actual story looks and if they still display emotion and facial expressions in the story, so let me know down in the comments if that's the case for Zenless Zone Zero.
ZZZ does a decent job in the story. They do have like emotions and stuff, like characters will like squint, make expressions in the dialogue, because they have like this whole sort of like zoomed in perspective of each character. You know, it'll be like character 1, then character 2, then character 3. And I think they do a pretty decent job there.
Nikkei also does an excellent job of transitioning their characters into model.
Okay, why is he back to the porn?
It's Nikkei. That's their whole game. I played this game back when Rem and Emilia were introduced, and sadly, Rem's model is somewhat jarring, along with Emilia not being able to show her cake. Wuthering Waves, however, does something phenomenal. The in-game models don't lose 8 layers of hair when you actually display them in-game. The in-game character doesn't transform into Danjin number 22. The in-game characters look and feel alive. Like, these Wuthering Waves characters are so alive that the women in the game can't contain their accelerated heartbeat. So that's why the jiggle physics are so intense in this game. I know, I just solved some major lore for you here, so just let that sink in. Wuthering Waves have—
I'm gonna be honest, I do think the jiggle physics kind of do need to be toned down from the perspective of, like, when you're in the sequence node menu and, like, stuff just starts, like, moving, it does look like they have, like, a mind of their own. Like, if there's movement involved, right? Like, a character's walking and then there's jiggle, sure. But if they're standing still and there's a jiggle, it's just like, the problem isn't the jiggle. The problem is, why is there a jiggle happening? It's not even that it looks like they're breathing, because it would just go up and they're going like left and right too. They're like moving in a semicircle pattern.
Having abnormal jiggle physics to please the Gooners? Absolutely yes. Not absolutely not. No. The fact that they use the in-game engine and models for their cutscenes and trailers truly speaks to the definition of their immaculate in-game models. Of course, this is made to look spectacular thanks to the lighting, positioning, and close-ups, and maybe some post-production art, but it just shows how much effort was put into these models in-game. Because of this effort, we can rest assured that even in 5 to 10 years from now, the game will still look incredible. And to bring it all together, I can fly in the air and stare at my character's booty. Not because I want to, but because the devs decided that needlessly censoring the in-game characters is pointless. You can go ahead and uncensor your support by liking this video and hitting that subscribe button to support the channel and keep these videos coming your way.
That's such a crazy time to drop that plug. That's crazy.
I don't care where you come from, or what background you have, or your stance on censorship, but censorship in a video game is cringe. These characters are already very safe for work in game. Everyone has a butt, everyone has a chest, so what if some look better than others? I'm not complaining. In other games, we have disappearing characters blurring the backs of the characters when—
Why is he doing that? Why is he making them like back it up? Why is he doing that? Why is he doing that? What? It's just 3 dudes and he's making them back it up. Like, I don't get it. Why? What the fuck? was this?
And they're underwater, and I can't even climb without looking at the backside of the characters without them just disappearing. It's just annoying and frustrating. Not all players are interested in this feature, but for those who are, yeah, they really are.
Void-like mail, I think. What is this? Wait, I don't know if you guys can read that. Wait. He's an equal opportunity Gooner, man. He's like, hey, if I play both teams, hey, if that's 2 teams, that's 2 opportunities, baby. Hey, double the goon.
They really are. And they should be allowed to view and see their characters as they appear in game. The ridiculous censorship is quite frankly pointless. I'm really happy that Zenless is made for a more mature audience and they aren't subjected to the censorship depicted in Genshin Impact. It would be much better if instead of actually censoring the characters, you have something like what they do in the Nier series. 2B and Kaine. If you want to look up 2B's skirt, she won't let you.
Just, do you want everybody to know you're a freak? Like,
She'll turn away and set the boundaries. Hey, don't look up there. If you want to look up Kaine's skirt, you get your ass beat. And if you continue to try, well, she will absolutely freaking kill you. Which is how things should be. A place where the models need the utmost attention is in the in-game story quest. And my god, Honkai Star Rail really screwed this up. 8-hour story quest. Fine, it's a Hoyo game. We're all used to it. Fine, it's a Hoyo quest. We're used to it. 8 hours of story combined with black screens, plus the characters have 0 facial expressions or reactions or even basic movements on screen.
Hey, they're synchronized though. Yo, wait, play that back.
Expressions or reactions or even.
Damn! They did the exact same thing at the exact same time, like on a fucking clockwork. That's crazy.
Basic movements on screen? Yeah, that's unforgivable. I play Star Rail, and I have a well-established account, but I quit recently because I couldn't get into the 3.0 story quest.
So did everybody else, buddy boy. Join the squad. Enjoy. We are the freed ones. We have finally lost our connection to the worst game in Gacha in 2025. The downfall of Honkai Star Rail will have to be studied. The downfall of HSR actually does need to be studied. I am hoping that there's like some sort of like whistleblowing document or just like something that comes out from like the internal Hoyo side that just shows that like there was like some massive issue that happened in HSR's development following like 2.4 or 2.5, and then like the devs just like shit themselves or something. I do think that something deeply went wrong with the game, like really fucking wrong with the game, right after Pentecote ended, and then maybe after like Fei Zhao released. It actually just, it genuinely seems like there was some massive problem in Hoyoverse that's still present to this day.
The quest was just, my god, boring. I'll eventually get back into it, as I always do, but I could not convince myself to sit through a Hoyo quest with 0 effort put in there. Plus, most of it is not even voice acted, especially the likes of Robin. I actually didn't even play the Robin and Sunday quest yet. I'm here to play a game, not listen to a novel. I listen to audiobooks when I'm doing a long car ride or when I'm doing tasks like cleaning, tasks that require 0 input from me. However, these games have a strenuous process of, hey, are you there? Choose nonsense option 1 or nonsense option 2 to make sure that you're actually there. Sometimes, these choices are actually just a normal response that you just read together anyways. If I gotta be present anyways to experience a story, then you better make sure that that story is a damn good experience. What's more bothersome is that in these stories, there is just minimal effort. In these story quests, you know exactly what reaction the character will have to certain situations.
I'm gonna be honest. It seems to me that like, maybe one of the critical parts about HSR's story and its storytelling is that I actually think a lot of this is done with AI. I genuinely think a lot of it is done with AI to the degree of like, if person A is speaking, direct all playable characters or all models to look at character speaking. I think like that's something that they're like putting in, and they're not even putting the effort to like manually rig what the animations are. I think it's actually AI that's like getting fed like basic prompts, and then that's just what's going on. It's gotten to the point like where the lip syncing, I think we all saw like Castorus speaking in the 3.1 quest, and it looked like she was summoning a fucking eldritch monster. Like she was like chanting something like a fucking eldritch abomination to like summon a demon. Her mouth was not even moving correctly. It was fucking ridiculous.
It's just a stock standard. Paimon says something that's supposed to be interpreted as funny, Traveler will put their hand on their head, and so on and so forth. Stock female number 22 is confused, she will have the exact same reaction. Stock male number 17, wait, they don't introduce that many men. Stock male number 6 is thinking, well, we know exactly what animation will play out. This works for a game that you play for.
I see where the no nose thing came from. I see why the HSR NPCs don't have noses. I'm beginning to see it now. Yeah, no, it's just a Hoyoverse thing.
The 2 months. Eventually though, with the sheer amount of story content and unskippable dialogue, most of which isn't even voiced, like come on. Eventually, you gotta create new things, right? In Wuthering Waves, you have Phoebe, who will bonk the goat Starbuck for being an absolute Chad. And we see
he's fucking a fish. That's not bonks him because he's fucking the fish. What do you mean? What do you mean Chad? What do you mean Chad? What do you mean by that? Boyd!
The full animation. We have Carlotta, who is caught by Rover, and we see the full animation. The models feel full of life.
It's just Gooner bait. It's just Gooner bait. No. This was just Gooner bait. What do you mean? This wasn't quality animation. It's just Gooner bait. It's gathering wives. Terrible.
Speaking of models and Carlotta, let's talk about the most outrageous things that these devs fail to implement in their games. No changes to the system of models. It's insane to think that Genshin has 2 male models and 3 female models. That's it. The stock standard of exactly the same characters and interactions between these characters. Wuthering literally added a new model with Lumi, and to my surprise, Carlotta was the same model. I figured this out because when I attempted to do a backflip, she did not in fact do a backflip. She instead did the lolly hop back. I then examined just how many in-game models do we have. We have 4 female models, tall, medium.
So most people would have identified that Carlotta had a different model because she's literally like 50% of the size of the other females. I would say that was probably the first sign that she had a different model, not necessarily the air dodge move she does. She's fucking tiny.
Mole and Lolly. And then for the men, we have 2 models. Now you may be thinking, how do we have 2 male models? Well, you may not have noticed, but Shenliao and Jian are actually 2 different sizes. I was surprised to find this out, as they look overall the same, right? But this model is fundamentally different. Crazy to think that Shenliao is the same model idea as someone like Xiao from Genshin Impact. I do hope that they add more
also male Rover
diversity to the models, because we know that they aren't scared to add new models. Additionally, they don't have a macro for each of the models for their in-game scenes. Instead, the characters tend to have unique movements every time. Sure, there are still a few standouts that are actually being reused, but Kuro games aren't scared to actually think outside the box and create different movements to depict their actions. It's more than just that though. The characters aren't static, they feel alive, and they don't do the whole, at least not anymore. I would love if they really went out of their way and added a bulky male model or a unique character model for special characters. That would really make them stand out as a unique character. Although this is unlikely, I can still have some hope. The point of this video is to say that these companies make so much money. They should be doing their utmost effort to bring the best product to the market.
Think about it this way. Wuthering Waves is already on the innovative side. They're already doing all these crazy things. I guarantee that they're going to have more unique models in the future. And let's be honest here, ladies and gentlemen. They literally make a fraction of the money that Hoyoverse has made across the 4 to 5 years that Genshin Impact has been live. And let's be honest, guys, Genshin Impact just clearly, actually, when it comes to their character designs, that would be the one area that you think they would try to innovate the most in, their character fucking designs. But when you have animations of things like Claymore heavy attacks, pole arm plunges, or pole arm heavy attacks that are universally the exact fucking same, across like 17 different characters. They all have like the same attacks and the same animations. It gets to the point where you're just like, why is it that in a gacha game, right, where the characters are the biggest selling point, these devs are so fucking lazy when it comes to the character design? It is actually mind-blowing how little they do in game to make them feel different, to make them feel unique, and to make them feel like, I don't know, like just visually appealing. And it's just, it's shocking when you think about how the monetization of gacha works. Create characters that people want to pull, that people want to save up for, that people want to spend money for. It's just, it feels like it's something that these devs should just do, or that they would keep top of mind, but they just have refused to do it over 4 to 5 years. It's honestly insane. It's baffling, if I'm frankly being honest.
It's baffling that they take shortcuts.
Okay, not pre-watched.
Displaying static images and the same expression over and over and over again. It feels a boring game with no innovation. Wuthering Waves is not a much better engine for the new era of gaming. However, this doesn't mean that their competitors should take these shortcuts. I understand why. They're making money either way, and as long as they're making money, nothing else matters, right? At least I know with Kuro Games, we will be able to get the best that the game has to offer, despite the money that they're making. Keep in mind, they're probably only making a fraction of what these other devs are making.
Okay, did this guy, is this, okay, this guy is clearly just copying my fucking, is copying like my, okay, that's weird.
Not that it really matters, because at the end of the day, I'll play the game that I find most appealing. And I find Chun-Li's assets most appealing.
Okay.
Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more animatic content. I have a ton of stuff coming your way, so stay tuned. This has been Void Enigma, and until next time, Enigma out.
I'm gonna say that this vid was both like a combination of like some interesting knowledge and interesting take, but also like, holy shit, man. I feel like you edited this video one-handed. I feel like you wrote the script for this video one-handed. That's like the first vibe that I get from this entire goddamn thing. And honestly, who can blame him with the footage that he was working with? Especially at whatever the fuck was going on over here. Editor, good luck with that one. But yeah, I'm gonna say pretty honestly good takes. It went in a direction that I wasn't actually expecting. Like, it started off like talking about like the in-game models. Then it got into why Honkai Star Rail was like dog shit. And then it got into the laziness of Hoyoverse. And I'm gonna be real, it was a wild journey, but an interesting one. And so with that, let me know what you all think. Peace.